All right. Yoga hosers. Why? Yoga hosers. That's the way. You know how, there's that time where you watch a movie and you say, all right, that was pretty good. But then you watch it again in a later date and you realize that it wasn't quite as good as you thought it was. That's yoga hosers. Oh boy. So I watched this when it first came out. Back in 2018? 16. Wow. I don't know. Back in 2016 when it first came out on Blu-ray, right? And I thought it was pretty good. I don't know. So I am aware that this is set in the same universe as Tusk. I've never seen Tusk, but I know the basic gist. Guy gets kidnapped, turned into a... Justin Long gets kidnapped, turned into a walrus, right? This mentions the events of that film. Even has a character, Guy Lapointe, by Johnny Depp, and I'll talk about him. Played by Johnny Depp, and I'll talk about him. And gets the Colleens, our main characters, played by Harley Quinn Smith and Lily Rose Depp. They were in that too. Now, usually I give a plot synopsis, but I find it hard to explain anything in this movie without spoiling it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get to just talking about the plot. After I air a few grievances here, the one biggest thing that bugs me about this film is how they talk. And that's nothing against Canadians and the way they pronounce their words. That's fine. I grew up watching a lot of Canadian TV shows like Degrassi, Zach Files, Big Wolf on Campus, Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark? All with that, have Canadian accents that sound different, right? But it feels like they're going too over the top with it. Because I know the Canadians pronounce about differently. But they pronounce it in this movie, every single person pronounces it about. The only time I've ever heard it pronounced that way is when Kevin Smith is involved. He directed this movie. He wrote and directed this movie, and they pronounce it about. In the one episode of Degrassi that he's in, well, he's in a couple, but that he, asked one of the Canadians to say it, they say about. Despite the fact I don't think I've ever heard him pronounce it that way in the entire series. About the Next Generation Degrassi. The only way I've ever heard it pronounced in Canadian shows is about. About. You don't know what you're talking about. To me, it sounds like about. Not about. You know what you're talking about. And sorry. That I understood. Because that's the main thing you hear is sorry. Like the first episode of Goosebumps, The Haunted Mask. Carly Beth is very strong in it. Oh, you make it very, very sorry. That I get. But every time they say a boot, it makes me cringe because I know that's not how they pronounce it. It sticks out like a sore thumb to me. I also felt that this plot is too heavy-handed. There's too much going on. And there's too much that happens to set up this plot. And you don't know, the Colleens, they work at the A to Z, which is essentially just a Canadian quick stop. And they work there and Colleen C's dad, played by Tony Hale, he owns the place, and he's also dating the manager, played by Natasha Lyonne from American Pie movies. And so she has to be the snobby I get what I want character so that they can conveniently be out of town when everything happens and make them work on the night they're supposed to go to a grade 12 party. Because in Canada it's not senior, it's grade 12. I've heard that in Degrassi too, so grade 12. But they have to they also have to have the teacher establish our backplot, our backstory, I guess I should say, because someone has to have knowledge of Canadian Nazis. Apparently, there was a man named Armand Arcand, who was a Canadian Nazi, and he recruited another guy named Arcane, who was German and was a real Nazi, and they were Canadian Nazis, and they started growing their empire, and stuff happened to them. And that's our backstory for our villains we eventually get. They say that Arcane was never found. So, the Colleens are invited to a grade 12 party, but they have to work. So they invite the two boys to the A to Z for the party. Turns out they're Satan worshippers. Now, there is the turnaround here. There's the reason why they have to have it at the A to Z. Because if they just went to the party, they'd be dead. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but you know what I mean. So they're invited to the party, but they can't go. It's a writing thing. Okay, they're invited to a party, but they can't go because if they go, you can't go because they're Satan worshippers, and if they go, they're going to die. So they're going to have the dad and the girlfriend leave so that they have to work and bring it there. So the Bratzies, yes, the Bratzies, little bratwurst creatures. They're made of bratwurst and have concentrated sauerkraut for blood. And they're played by Kevin Smith. And they say German stuff like Wunderbar, which is their main phrase to say. Wunderbar. That's what they say all the time. Nein, wunderbar. But, yeah. So, if the dad and girlfriend don't go out of town, they go to the party and they die. So they have to go to town, so they can't go to the party, have to bring the boys there. Then the Bratzies show up, kill the boys, and, yeah. The only plot thread I don't understand is why they have to get arrested. You could say, oh, if they don't get arrested, then Guy Lapointe, they don't meet up with Guy Lapointe. But they meet up with them earlier in the film. And it's much easier for them to, like, you'd think that having Guy show up earlier in the film would be a hint that when it starts to go down, they go to him for help. Oh, he's dealt with the transmutated walrus, so which they keep calling a manatee for some reason. He can help us. But it seems that they see, and that would make more sense than him just showing up at the police station for no reason. It doesn't. I don't understand it, I guess. But they take him back to the A to Z, where they say there's a secret passage, but there really isn't. And I should mention, there's also a cameo by Lily Rose Depp's mother. I don't remember her name. She plays the teacher that tells the story. And Also, Lily Rose Depp's character, Colleen C., she speaks French in this. Her mother is French, she speaks French, and she speaks French to Guy, you know. I will say, though, one consistent thing that I did like in this is Guy Lapointe, which is played by Johnny Depp, by the way. And he's my favorite part. Like, the Colleens sometimes annoyed me. When it was just that much, sometimes I'm like, ugh. But then here comes Guy Lapointe, and almost everything he does was funny to me. Like, when he reintroduces himself to them in the school library, and he's got his book, and he goes, pretend this is the book. He's like, this is my book, The Humanity by Guy Lapointe. Somebody has taken the name Guy, and I put the A in there to make it say a gay. And also they have done the testicles under my nosy hair with the little pokey hairs are coming out of there. I was kind of laughing. It was funny, you know. And later at the end, when they're fighting off the Bratzies, and he drops the book on one, he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I dropped my book on your winner." I laughed. Okay, it's a cheap joke, but it's a funny joke. Okay. But yes. And its movie also seems like it's trying to push a catchphrase, because people keep saying "goddamn yoga hosers." We only see him do yoga like a couple times in the film. They're showing it at the yoga place, Yogi Bears. Ha 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 ha. And he's played by Justin Long. And you could be like, well, why would they reuse the actor? Well, you could say he's in enough hair and makeup stuff to make him look different, to where people might not notice him, or you say, oh, he's totally different character, but it's Justin Long. I know that Kevin Smith has a long history of recasting actors as different characters. That's why Jason Lee plays 4 different characters, or Ben Affleck has 5 different roles. He does that, but when you're building a universe like this, I feel like, especially when he was your main character in the last film, you could have cast someone else as Yogi Bear, as the yoga instructor. It just doesn't work. Just saying. But I guess I was looking, he recast a lot of actors that were previous. And like the third one they're working on, I think, Moose Jaws. Apparently Johnny Depp's gonna be in that one too. He's playing a different character. You could just make him Guy Lapointe. Guy Lapointe should be the guy. You could have this universe centered around him, going around and just dealing with weird goings-ons. That would be fine. He can be the guy that's like transpotted in every story. You know what I mean? But they're going a different direction, I guess. But I don't know if that's going to get made, because keep pushing that, and I don't know. Do I want it to be made? Sort of. It's supposed to be like Jaws with a moose. I don't know. But, yeah, so the Satan worshippers show up, and they're killed by the Bratzies going up their buttholes, and they get arrested, like I said. I went back too far. And then Guy Lapointe shows up and breaks them out, apparently. He gets in there because Jason Mewes, who plays a character in this, he's a fan of his books. There's your cameo, Jay. And also we have a Stan Lee cameo, which but he mentions like Doctor Doom, and I was like, yeah, you don't need to have him talk about Marvel Comics all the time. I mean, I get it. It's Stan Lee. I get it, but I don't know. It's a 911 phone call, and he's talking about Doctor Doom. I don't know. But, yeah, so I do find it, like I said, they get arrested for the murders, but they're called serial killers. It's only 2 people. That's not a serial killer. You gotta kill more than 2. I've seen enough horror movies to know that you can't be called a serial killer just after 2 people. And if they each killed 1, that's not even... No. But I'm just saying, that's not what happened anyway. Because how do you explain puncture through the butthole thing? You don't. So they go back to the A to Z, and they find a secret passageway in the bathroom, and they find their villain, Arcane, and he explains that he was in cryogenic sleep. That's where his brat sees, as he, I guess, wanted them to be fully grown clones of Arkan, even though he doesn't play that, even though Haley Joel Osment doesn't play that role, it's Kevin Smith, but who knows. And apparently when they were practicing in their band, which by the way, their drummer is Adam Brody, the power went out and it woke them up. So they've been kind of hiding for the past whatever amount of time it's been. It's been a while because in this flashback, Adrian Brody's character doesn't have tattoos and he does now, so it's been a while, but yeah. And yeah, so he's built this big Canadian hockey robot thing that has controlled by his Bratzies. And then the thing turns on him, and then I'm saying this, the Colleens fight the thing off with yoga poses. I did do that with the Bratzies up in the top, but that's actually kind of fun because they're squishing little fake CGI things, but they're fighting this big thing using, it's like, come on. And it's like Johnny Depp is just sitting in a chair the whole time. I don't know, it's kind of stupid. But, yeah. And they win, of course. So, I've been neglecting one thing about this film. It's kind of a hit or miss. And it's because it kind of happens at the end, too. The Colleens are in a band, right? So they sing. The first song that they sing in this film, I don't even know what they were going for. Like, they're singing a song, and Colleen M keeps messing up the word that she's supposed to say, but it doesn't sound like by messing up the words she's interrupting the song because it just keeps going, so it's meant to be like that? I don't know. I was like, oh, when this started, and I was like, oh, I don't remember being this bad. It got better, not much, but it got better, but just... And they sing a cover of Babe by Styx. Oh, I'm not the best singer in the world, believe me. And it's not terrible, but you could tell they're a little off key. I think there's one more song, but I don't remember. Maybe there's only 3 songs in this, but they sing "Oh Canada" at the end, and that's probably the best song they sing in this. And of course, they sing it in English, and then Lily Rose Depp sings it in French because she speaks French, and some Canadians speak French, so but overall. I wouldn't say I would never watch it again, but when it comes to Kevin Smith movies, and I haven't seen them all, like I haven't seen Red State or Cop Out or Tusk or even Jersey Girl. I've seen the beginning of it, but I've stayed away from it mostly because Kevin Smith has said that's his worst film, and I don't know. At least at the time, it was. Usually a fan of his views, Skuniverse stuff, so, I wanted to buy more Kevin Smith movies to kind of do a ranking, but here's the thing. It's very hard to get a hold of Red State. Like, there's copies on eBay, but it's up there in price. For some reason, it's the hardest fucking movie to get a hold of. I can't even find it to, like... I was looking on the Roku and stuff. I can't even find it on there. I don't know. I really don't know. But eventually I want to get the other movies. but I'm tiptoeing around the score here. I'd have to say it's middle of the road. There are some things I like Johnny Depp and the comedy with him, and I guess I would say it's not a movie for me. So I cannot rightly say, not worth your time, because if you're in that age range of 16 to 14, whatever, teenage girlish age, I don't know why I say it like that, but you might like it. It's PG-13, and they push the boundaries of PG-13, so you might like it, but for me, as a grown-ass man, it's the middle of the road, for sure. There's some things I like. It's Kevin Smith, so it's not all, bad. Some of the cameos are fun to see, but I don't know, it just doesn't work, I guess. So it's middle of the road. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on Yoga Hosers? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And one more. We got one more. It's another Kevin Smith movie. Stars with Z. And I will also tell you it stars Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks. That might give it away. But, yeah, one more. Getting to the end of the line. So, thank you for watching. I'm Scotty. I'll see you in the next one.